In that hope, he sometimes let his feet lag crossing the hall while Marley was playing a gramophone or a tape recorder or displaying to his friend a Polaroid camera or one or other of the 100 things he had brought with him, which had included a wrap package for Jagan. So the idea is like when a Marley's friend is in the house, Jagan doesn't immediately move, right? He lags his feet means he moves slowly. In a way, he want to listen or he want to get an idea. He want to nose into, right? He's a kind of nosy guy. He's kind of prying guy. He's kind of inquisitive guy, and he want to know like what's the conversation between Marley and his friend, right? So that's why he's lagging his feet. Lag his feet means he slowly moves, right? As if to just to listen or get an idea what's going on there with Marley and his friend, right? So sometimes when Marley was talking with his friend, Marley was playing a gramophone. Sometimes Marley has both brought this stuff. We know, right? He brought enormous amounts of baggage, right? So he was playing gramophone sometimes. So this is a novelty. It's a kind of a new thing for this town for father for this I mean like Malgudi. These are new things, right? So he was playing either a gramophone or a tape recorder, right? Those days these are things, right? Nowadays like tape recorder is almost antique things, right? Antique thing. Now even your phone have these kind of recorders and everything. I mean, like in those days, like we used to have a tape recorder. These are like new gimmicks, right? I mean, like not what you call this gizmos, right? So tape recorders and displaying to his friend means showing to his friend a Polaroid camera. He was rambling on thus when Grace put away her mop and brooms came up and sat down by his side, dangling her legs down and steps of the courtyard. I mean, like now, Jagan is just like mumbling. His rambling means his talk is aimless, right? While he is just struggling with his words. But anyway, rambling means just going on with his talk. Grace put away her mop and brooms. She was just bringing these mops and brooms to the Jagan side just to clean and just to dust up things and making his partition clean, right? Tidy, neat and tidy. So now she put those things away, right? And the mop and the broom, and came up and sat down side by side with the father, dangling her legs. Dangling means hanging loosely, right? It means like she's dangling her legs, kakul deka padda padda, right? Dangling her legs down the steps of the courtyard. She's sitting on the courtyard. I didn't gather much about you from him. He let his clumsy imagination soar. He only wrote that he was going to marry. I didn't know. I didn't know much about you. Even now, I don't know much about you except that you are a good girl, says the father. Now, the father continues his rambling talk, aimless talk, but still, he just says something important here, right? You can just, draw two parallel lines in this entire paragraph, right? He didn't describe you till you are a good girl because this shows, right? Father's real attitude, right, towards the girl, but that he likes her. But still, this is what he says, right? Even Dagan says a lie in this lie. He says like, I didn't gather much about you from him. Right? Father says that Mali has sent him letters, which is a lie. But still, in that lie, he adds, right? Mali didn't say much about you. He lets his clumsy imagine so. I mean, like Jagan lets his clumsy means funny imagination. I mean, like he's building up these ideas. Like මේ දෝන පත බොරුවක් මේ කියන්නේ. ඒ බොරුවේ හරි imaginative විදිහට මේ කියන්නේ, right? That's what he let his clumsy imagination, his kind of revered, kind of funny imagination. So means go up. That he's coming up with false things, and he's saying these things as true things to the girl. He only wrote that he was going to marry. Mali only told me that he's going to marry, right? Which is a lie at the first place. This man knew that Mali was married in the station itself when Mali said, I am married, this is Grace. That's the moment he knew, right? He was even married. But he says, like, I knew that Mali has told me previously he's going to marry, right? I didn't know much about you. I didn't know that he was going to marry you. Even now, I don't know much about you. He's nicely just, coming up with this thing, right? Very imaginative answer, by the way, right? Except that you are a good girl. I see that you are a good girl anyway, right? Uh, that is all one should bother about, don't you think? Why should we ask? Oh, no more. Ask the Father, right? Ask the Father from grace, right? That's all one should bother about, don't you think? Why should we ask? Oh, no more. Sorry, this is said by grace, right? Grace is saying, yeah, that's enough, no further, right? If someone is good, right? If someone is good, like why should we ask some other questions about this other person, right? If they are satisfactory, if they are good people, isn't that enough itself? I mean, like Grace asked these things from Jagan, right? I mean, like, why should you know about my past, or why should you know about who, where am I from, where am I? Are they important anyway, right? Uh, is the question, right? Is there's a point? Grace makes a point here. It's correct, right? Jagan did not like Jagan did not like to let this opportunity slip and said, Jagan liked this question because there was something Jagan wanted to say to the girl, right? When the girl says that, isn't that enough being a good girl just to be your daughter-in-law? That's the paraphrase, or that's the underlying idea of this question, right? කියන්නේ ගෑනු ළමෙක් හොඳ ගෑනු ළමෙක් වෙන එකම ප්‍රමාණවත් හේතුවක් නෙමෙයිද හොඳ ලේලි කෙනෙක් වෙන්න, right? ඒ කියන්නේ එයාගේ වත ගොත, එයාගේ පෙළපත, එයාගේ කොහෙන්ද එන්නේ කියන ඒවා අදාළ නැහැ නේද කියලා මේ ගෑනු ළමයා අහන්නේ. But that question, immediately Jagan responded to that, because Jagan didn't want that kind of question to be slipped, right? He liked to let this opportunity slip and said, it is a custom in this country to inquire where one was born and bred, and who generally, and then we go into the other things, right? Jagan immediately adds his cultural values here, right? It's a custom in this country, it's a norm in this country, it's a natural thing in this country, it's the way of life in this country, it's the culture of this country, it's a custom in this country to inquire where one was born, right? They are very concerned about where a person is born, about, right, which, in other words, they have these caste systems, they have this, cultural kind of cultural beliefs, right? So they are very concerned about a person's birth, right? Who are the mothers? How are they abroad? Are they well brought up? Are they belong to a noble caste, right? Things like that, right? Contrary to the in this country, to inquire means find out where one was born, and bred means where one was grown up, how they were grown up. Bred, who is who generally, like what are the family ties, who are the background, what is the background, what are the relatives, who are the relatives, are they good people, right? And so many things are taken into account, as a matter of fact, uh, when you are just checking about a person, and other things comes later. I mean, like, other things means marriage and things like that are very secondary, right? Those are the things that they check first, according to Jagan. So Jagan speaks out his mind, their way of life, right? Only the passport and income tax people ask for such details in other countries, says the girl, right? That's funny, right? So the girl gives a witty reply. I mean, like, yes, in our countries also, who are the people concerned about these things are the tax people, the people who collect tax, right? They want to know, right, where are you from, who are your parents, what's your family background. Those are security details and stuff, right? And such details in other countries, right? And income tax people, I mean, like, other passport people. In the passport, you have to include these kind of details, right? Of the background details. So that's why passport people are concerned about these kind of questions. Is this a kind of background check? And in the other way, the income tax people are also concerned about these kinds of backgrounds, right? However, since I am an Indian now, I might as well as get used to things and tell you something. And now the girl also says, right, okay, now it's no matter, right? You asked this question, father, but now I'm an Indian girl as well. I fit into this Indian culture. So since you want to ask, you want to know about, right, who I am, where I come from, and my kind of a background check, I'll tell you these things about, little bit about something, right, about myself. My mother was a Korean. There you go. Her mother is a Korean. So he's not a Chinese nor a Japanese, right? This mother is a Korean mother, right? And my father was an American soldier. So it's like a cross, I mean, it's not, I mean, like interracial marriage, different races. These kind of marriages are very common in America even today, right? Even in the back time. I mean, like America is a democratic country, right? They believe like as adults, any two adult people can take a decision about their adult life, right? Their family, their race, their nations are immaterial, right? Castes are immaterial. This is not taken into account, right? So that's why those interracial. That's a democratic country. So I mean, like her mother, Grace's mother is a Korean, and Grace's father was an American man, right? American soldier. He's in the military, serving the Far East and the Second World War. So his Grace's father was a soldier who participated in the First World War, right? First World War somewhere around 1914s and 1915 it started, right? Second World War when it comes to 1945 and it ends in somewhere around it starts somewhere around 1930s, right? 39 and just like somewhere around 1949 it ends, right? In the both wars, Germany ends up as defeated, right? So anyway, right, in the Second World War, this was a soldier. This Ray's father was a soldier, right? He's a veteran, in other words. There's another word for a soldier. He's a veteran, right? I was born in New Jersey. Grace was born in America, New Jersey. When my father went on home to leave and took my mother along, and that's how, right, father has taken Grace to New Jersey, and mother with him as well. He was recalled while my mother was still confined. I mean, he was called again to do his job. He was called again to the war front, the battlefront, right, to the service, the military, while mother is still confined. Means mother is still pregnant. Confined is pregnant here, right? And she remained silent for a moment, and this girl remained for a silent moment and said, "He never came home again. My father never came home again after this war," right? Mother decided to stay in America, right? Even mother is a Korean. Mother didn't go to her home country, which is Korea. Mother stayed in America, right? When you marry an American person, and you can, if you are an American, just like a wife of an American citizen, and if that person is a soldier itself, that woman has a right to be just identified as an American. After some time, she can convert, right, to be an American. Like she can naturalize herself to be an American. So mother decided to stay in America because in America it's not a new thing. It's not a I mean, like it's not a thing to be a single parent, or it's not a thing to be, people don't, like discriminate, or people don't frown, or pass out hints, or just gives a squint eye when for single parents and things like that. But anyway, here she's a widow, right? So she decided to stay in America and just come up with this child, right? Bring Grace up, right? So that's the idea. No, Jagan said, "What is it?" I mean, like, no, Jagan said, "What is it?" A girls' school, right? So the idea here is, and I stayed in America and studied at Margaret's. So I missed something right here. So she says like, I studied at Margaret's. Margaret's. Have you heard of it? Have you heard what is Margaret's is? Right? Uh, no, Jagan said. What is it? What does Margaret's mean? Right? What is it? It's a girls' school. How I adore the memory of it. I mean, like she says, like how much I like the memory of my school days. Right? Her school was the Margaret School. Right? That's a famous school, maybe. Right? Must be a good place, Jagan said. Right? Margaret School must be a nice school, Jagan said. It was his habit to pick up the tidbits of American information and build on them. Right? Jagan has this habit of picking up or listening to the conversations or listening up to finding out stuff from other people's conversation and kind of build his own image of this unknown territories, right? So he says like, yeah, Margaret School sounds great, right? It must be a good place, right? I studied domestic science at Michigan and met more when he came there for the creative writing course. There you go, right? I study domestic science. I study domestic science. It's like domestic science means what is domestic? Household science. It's like what we call this, like, there's another word for this in home science, right? In Sri Lanka, we call this home science. It's like domestic science. I mean, like how to keep up a house, like the skills a person need, and other things, right? These are practical things. So that's why maybe she's liking this cleaning the house, doing these things, right? Uh, she has learned these things at Margaret's. And at Michigan, when she's studying this domestic science at Michigan, went and met Mo. Who is this Mo? It's a pet name for Marley, right? Mo. When she came there for his creative writing course, he also came to Michigan for following his creative writing course. Right? He went to America just to learn how to write novels, right? So sorry the art of writing novels is called is named in another word, creative writing course. Creative writing, fiction writing is called this creative writing, right? So this is the name of the course. So when you grow up, if you want to be a novelist one day, right, you have to take a creative writing course that helps you. They teach you about how to write dialogue. They teach you about how to write characters. They teach you about how to make a good, interesting plot. They teach you about how to write a very grappling and interesting and mind-blowing, page-turning bestseller. Things like that are taught in this course. So Mali has been there just to learn this art, right? So that's how like Grace met Mo, right? Mali. We sat by side at the football game. So they were in the love, they were falling in love at the initial stages. They were going to watch football games together, and right, they were sitting side by side, right? Football game. Oh, you must see the football matches in Michigan. Have you such things here? I mean, like these football matches in Michigan are mind blowing, right? They are fascinating. Maybe probably she's talking about American football, right? When we say football, what comes to our mind is soccer, right? The famous play, the world famous play. But when it comes to American football, it's kind of little different, right? American football, they are wearing this headgears and just running with a rubber type ball, right? And just that's a different game. So this is the American football probably she's talking about, right? And when she asks, like, do you have such things here, such kind of American football here? Yes, yes, we have football too. All the schoolboys plays it, says Jagan, right? Jagan misunderstood it again, right? She's referring to some different kind of football. Jagan speaks about the common football, that the football we play here, right? Uh, I thought he must have written to you all about it, said Grace, right? I thought just like Mali has written about me and our affair and how we spend the time to you. Jagan immediately says, right? Yes, yes, but sometimes letters get lost. Oh, මට ලියලා ඇති සමහර වෙලාවට ඉතින් ගන්න ලියුම් නැති ඒ නයි කියන්නේ නිකන් නයි නෙමෙයි අරින්නේ කැලණි නයි අරින්නේ, right? Just like අර දන්නවනේ කැලණි නයිකාවනේ that's ළඟදී, right? කැලණි ගඟ දෙපෑ කරගෙන නයි ආවේ අන්න ඒ වගේ ඊට හපන් නයි මේ, right? ඒ නයි හොඳයි. Just like this is even worse, right? I don't know whether these nights are good or that කැලණි නයි ඊට වඩා හපන්ද මන් දන්නේ. You decide it, right? Uh, I mean, like, yes. So, yes, yes, but sometimes letters get lost, says Jagan, right? The other day, I heard a friend complaining to the postmaster that his letters never reach him properly. Yeah, Grace, there was issue, right? I heard one day, the other day, I heard one of my friend complaining the postmaster that his letters never reached. And like some friend was saying sending him letters, but he has never reached these letters. He never got these letters, and he was complaining the postmaster. Like, right? And again, the girl says, "You are happy, aren't you?" She asked suddenly. And she asked, like, "You are happy, right? Aren't you? I mean, like, you are not unhappy about me, right? You are okay with me, in other words, right?" Jagan nodded. She said, I had heard so much about the caste system in this country. Now the girls speaks, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have heard so much about the caste system. I have explained you what is the caste system. Like India has so many castes, right? Basically four castes, right? There's the ranking system, the higher caste, lower caste, untouchables. There are untouchables means Dalits in other outcasts, right? අර කියන්නේ සුනීතව සෝපා කළා කියන යාර දාලිත්ලා they they are just the lowest social class. No one cares about those things, those people, right? They are just like animals, even worse than animals. At least they worship cattle, right? I mean, like these people worship, they love cattle, but even worse than cattle, they despise these people. Actually, if you think about caste system, right? Why is this caste system there in the first place? What's the purpose of this caste system? It's a mechanism. It's a mechanism that introduced by these kings just to run the state smoothly, right? Some people are supposed to do certain things, certain group of people are supposed to do certain things. So the mechanism of the state can run smoothly, right? Some people are making pots, some people are doing some kind of other stonework, some people are doing farmers. So there was a balance, right? Everyone has a part to do in that culture, in that system. So the system was running smoothly. I mean, like it was not running out of balance, right? That's the aim of the caste system. But what happened is after some time, people always judge, right? Even in our society, we judge people, right? I mean, like, why is this division? Like, why am I a teacher and why is some another person is a doctor and why another person is a cleaner? Because we all contribute in our own way to the society, right? We are all equally important. I mean, like, I respect my headmaster as much as I respect the janitor in my school. I mean, like, when I see the cleaning auntie in my school, I say, "Good morning, auntie. How are you?" I always respect that woman, right? Because I know she's doing an important job, right? I never condescend. I never make faces. I never just, passed her without a smile. That you should learn from a very young age. Respect everyone, right? Everyone is important in a society. As much as I respect that woman, cleaning woman, who was the I mean, like, who is the bottom rung of the social hierarchy in my school. As much as I respect the principal, I respect that woman as well, right? So but what happened in the society is like once this system is in place, you think you are special, you think you are above others, and you start to look or condescend or discriminate others, and that's how this kind of illusion of caste system comes into play, and these things become crystallized over time, and people take them for granted. Then this discrimination and things like that happen very unfortunately, right? That's not the way it's supposed to be, right? Grace says here, well, she said, I had heard so much about the caste system in this country. I had heard so much about the caste system in India. I was afraid to come here. There you go, right? She was afraid to come to India, but because she was very scared of the reactions, right? How it will turn out in the end. And when I first saw you at the railway station, I shook with fear. And Grace says, like, when I saw you, Father, I was struck with fear, right? How would you respond to this? Will you jump on me? Will you hit me? Will you be abusive to me? Will you scold at me? How can you just marry my son? Right? So, but what happened in the in the railway station was something totally different, right? Because the father was also shocked, right? He went backwards, right? Can you remember? So everyone, like, daily, තාත්තට බය වෙලා ඉඳලා තියෙන තාත්තා මේ තාත්තා මේකට බය වෙලා තාත්තා පස්සට ගියා, right? So it's like a funny situation, right? Anyway, yes, first saw you at the railway station, I was shocked. I shook with fear. I thought I might be accepted. I thought I might not be accepted. I thought you will not accept me, you will not welcome me. Mo has really been wonderful. I mean, like, Mo is really very, very nice and wonderful supporter, right? Standing by me without taking parties with any other. He was supporting me. He was strong in that case, right? He's wonderful. It is a very courageous of him to bring me here. I mean, like, it's a very brave thing for Mali just to bring me here to India. to his own country. Where is this caste system, where people easily judge each other, where people easily look into other people's affairs, right? Even if this thing exists, it was a great thing from Mali just to do this thing, very bravely bring this girl to India, right? To Malgudi. Now, listening to this, father immediately says, well, we don't believe in the caste these days. I mean, like he says, like now these are the post colonial India. At this time, yes, even the caste system is there. These are the time the caste system is going down, right? So he says, like Jagan says, no, we know Jagan sometimes lies, right? So Jagan sometimes gives like very implausible, right? Kind of a very uncertain, very baseless ideas, right? So he's a very untrustworthy person saying lies, but at the same time, sometimes Jagan says the truth. That's also evident. That's the truth, right? I mean, like he's not a flat character. He's a round character. Flat characters are either dark or either white. Either he's a Superman or either he's a villain. But here, Jagan is a round character. He's a human character. He's flesh and blood character. So Jagan has character flaws. Sometimes, as if like we are also the same way. Sometimes, right? We also have to lie. Sometimes, right? We do lie. Be honest, right? Sometimes we have to say white lies just to make sense out of situations, right? So Jagan, so we are our characters. We have our flaws, we have our strengths, right? Same way, Jagan is the same. Now, here Jagan says something truthful, very truthful, right? He says, we don't believe in caste system these days. Jagan said generously, Gandhi fought for its abolition. Abolition means destroying. Abolition means giving up the caste system. So, Gandhi was a strong proponent of a anti-caste India. I mean, like Gandhi seriously fought against it, right? As much as Martin Luther King Jr. right fought against the Martin Luther King fought against the racial difference in America. Same way, not in the same way actually. Gandhi is even a severe candidate who tried to abolish the caste system. That's true. That's very true, right? Actually, after before now this is what you have to understand. I'll tell you something interesting, right? uh, Before this, white people colonized India, the caste system was gradually coming down. I mean, caste system automatically, slowly, gradually, step by step, it was coming down before the British people captured India. It was the it was what was happening naturally, right? It was there in India, it is there, but still the fashion is becoming slowly out fashioned and coming down. But what happened when the British captured India? They British kind of brought back this caste system into life by social division. You know, I mean, like that's what British do, right? The way of British, like in Sri Lanka, before British captured Sri Lanka, the Tamils were there. We had wars with Tamils. That's a different thing. But still, Tamils were living in Sri Lanka, right? Muslims were living in Sri Lanka. Sinhalese were living in Sri Lanka. But when the moment British captured Sri Lanka, right, they immediately brought out these differences into the table. I mean, like they emphasize on these differences. The rule is just to divide and rule. Divide and rule. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක් හරි ජාතීන් අතර අවුලක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ අවුල තව ටිකක් වැඩි කරනවා බ්‍රිතාන්‍ය යටත් විජිතවාදීන්. එහෙම කරාම පාලනය කරන්න ලේසි. right? මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ තව ටිකක් වැඩි කරාම එයාලනේ ගහගන්නේ. එතකොට අරගොල්ලන්ට පාලනය කරන්න ලේසි. උන් ගහගන්නවා අරගොල්ලන්ට වැඩි කරගෙන යන්න ලේසි. So that's a trick they did, right? So in Sri Lanka, it was this racial discrimination they did, right, for their advantage. In India, it's a total different thing. They took the caste system because India has so many nationalities, right? But the caste system was there, so they kind of developed the caste system. So after under colonialism, This came up to life again. What was dying? Right? We have to understand these things, right? They are very subtle things, right? It's a very, very subtle political subtleties, political nuances, right? So here he says, like, Jagan is correct, right? So Gandhi fought against it, right? Gandhi tried to abolish or destroy this caste system. Very true, right? Uh, it is gone now. Is it gone now? She asked innocently. Now, is it this caste system over now? Girl asked, no, it's not over, right? We know that. It's going, said Jagan. It's going means, yeah, it's diminishing. It's coming down. It's going. It's leaving us. That's what he said. It's not like in the old days, right? When the kings ruled, said Jagan. Sounding like a politician. He says this as a politician. We don't think it is of it nowadays. Like we are not that much bothered about caste system nowadays. Hoping that the girl would not cross-examine him further. I mean, like Jagan says these things as if he thinks like, oh my God, like I hope this girl is not going to ask any further questions from me about these caste systems and others, right? And at this moment of the conversation, Molly suddenly dashed into Jagan's presence one day to ask. I mean, like another day, right? Now that part is over. This is another different day. Molly suddenly dashed. Molly suddenly rushed. Dash means went fast, scuttled, right? Dashed into Jagan's presence, came into Jagan's face, presence, confronted Jagan. One day to ask, can't you get a telephone for the house? Father, can't you have a telephone for the house? Jagan said, I don't thought of it, right? It didn't occur to me. Right? What's the importance of it, right? It doesn't occur to me. I didn't think of such a thing, right? Said Jagan. Yes, this is awkward and backward. How can we do any business without a telephone? Says Mali. Right? Suddenly, right? He comes from America, right? And as if like Jagan has to provide him a telephone, he asked from the father, why don't we have a telephone in our house? What a question, right? Yes, that's the problem. Not having a telephone. This is awkward and backward. Like this is weird. This is strange, and very backward means undeveloped. Every modern house have to have a telephone. We can't do any business. How can we? How can I do any business without a telephone? And listening to this, Jagat wanted to say, after all, Malgudi is a small town. Everyone is within the shouting distance, right? Like this, Malgudi is a small town, right? Like everyone is a shouting distance. එකන අපි කියන්නේ අර නිකන් ළමයි කියන්නේ හරි ළඟින් ඉන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අර හුවයි බල්ටි දෙකයි, right? එක තැනක ඉඳලා තවත් තැනකට යන්න පුළුවන්. හුවයි බල්ටි දෙකයි. විසිල් එකයි බල්ටි දෙකයි, right? That's the idea, right? Like in a very short distance, right? And listening to this, Mal immediately replies, even in your business, Mali went on, if you had a telephone, more business will flow in. People might order by telephone, right? You should have a telephone to your shop or this house. Then people will call you and order to make their orders by phone, right? So you can take the orders and just prepare the orders. Then people will come and collect the orders, right? As we do nowadays, right? So just in, Mali is giving this idea to his father somewhere around 60s, right? I mean, like how develop Mali, because Mali may be exposed to these things in America, right? So expect these things in India as well. This kind of, because America is a more kind of cosmopolitan, kind of a developed a trade community, right? It's a kind of a commercial country. But in India, the business are not that developed, right? These things are not that developed, right? So it's like very outlandish. It's kind of alien to the father, right? People might order by telephone. Jagan listened to it and merely just said, I never thought of it, right? I didn't think about, right, people giving calls and ordering sweets over the telephone, right? It didn't occur to me. While Jagan wanted to really say, my daily sales is such and such even without a telephone, which shows that when one wants to eat sweets, one doesn't wait for a telephone, right? Father wanted to say these things, but he said it very nice way. I never thought of it, right? I not thought of it means I didn't think about it. But father want to say is like my sales in the shop are big, and when people want to eat sweets, they come to the shop. They don't go to the telephone to make orders and wait till the orders are delivered or just come to the shop to have their orders. බඩගිනු නානම් ස්වීට් කන්න ඕන නම් කඩේට එනවා. ටෙලිෆෝන් එකකට නෙමෙයි යන්නේ. Right? That's what he wanted to say to the boy, but he didn't say these things, right? The boy said, Mali said, I felt embarrassed because I could not give my associates the telephone number. Right? I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed, right? Because I could not give my associates, like business associates, like business partners, a telephone number. I mean, like to do the business, right? You have to give a telephone number. Nowadays, the business cards and everything have this telephone number, contact number, emails, right? All these connections. So Mali couldn't do those things, right? There was no email numbers, but at least a telephone number just to reply back, he couldn't give because his house didn't have a telephone number. So he's complaining these things on dad. He's just pushing these things on dad, right? Now you should ask, right? If that man just brought out so many baggage from America, right? So much, like he brought the gramophones, Polaroid cameras, he was, other accessories. Why the hell he couldn't bring a telephone? Right? If he wanted a telephone, he could take a telephone, right? He could go to the telecommunications, order a telephone, and get a connection. Why he want his father to make that on behalf of him? Right? Just like, right? Think about those things, right? Mal is very unreasonable sometimes, right? He's pushing his father. Right, okay. And he said, like, I felt embarrassed because I could not give my associates a telephone number, says Mali. Who are your associates? What's association? Ask Jagan, right? What's your association? Now, what's your business? Who are your business partners? What business are you talking about, right? He asked, right? Grace, Mali immediately called Grace. Right? Will you join us? Come join us. Join this conversation now. Right? We are discussing business now. Right? We are discussing business. We are talking something important. Come here. Join our conversation right now. Mali orders Grace, right? Now Jagan was seized with the cold red at the prospect of a business discussion with Mali. I mean, like, Jagan seized. Jagan was kind of a seized, means something just kind of a caught Jagan, kind of a feeling captured Jagan. Seize කරනවා කියන වට දැම්ම කියන එක නෙවෙයි, හැංගීමක් වට දැම්මා Jagan, right? Just Jagan was seized with a cold dread here. Cold dread means kind of a cold ice like dread, kind of a fear, something very dreadful, right? At the prospect, at the chance, at this moment, at this prospects are future prospects means this sight, this moment of business, talking business with Mali, scared Jagan, right? Although pleased that after all Mali was going to talk to him, right? Talking business with Mali was a horrible thought for Jagan. That thought itself was a very cold, scary thought. But again, Jagan was a little happy. At least Mali is going to talk with him after a long time, right? Can you remember back then? It was 3.5 months, right, when they had a little bit conversation. So, in other words, this father likes to hear at least some words coming out of his son's mouth directed at him, whatever the words are, right? So that's the situation you have to understand, right? He's so hungry for that, right? Some words from the boy. So he's happy, like, oh, he's going to talk something with me, huh? Yeah, I'm prepared for it, whatever it is, right? He was in one of his rare moods of communication. Jagan could see by the deliberate manner with which Grace kept herself in the background that she must have been responsible for this meeting. I mean, like, now Jagan observes things, right? He sees he was in one of his rare modes of communication. The boy, Mali, is in a communication mode, in a talking mode. Now, this boy doesn't talk, right? When he was young, he can remember, he only gives answers in syllables, right? Or very brusque, very short in his conversation. Now he's in a talking mode. Now he's talking, and father can see him talking, right? He's in a communication mode. Jagan could see by the deliberate manner in which Grace kept herself in the background. Now father can see Grace is also standing besides Marley, right? Listening to this conversation, right? Must have been responsible for this meeting. And a thought hit Jagan's mind, right? Okay, maybe this conversation was arranged by Grace. That's why she's during this conversation, right? That's why maybe Mark even called Grace to be here. In other words, Grace has to do something with this meeting. That's what Jagan understands, right? Able for this meeting. Mari suggested, Father, let us adjourn the hall. Adjourn to the hall. Right, if you don't know what is adjourn, adjourn means like break, let's break from the meeting and go further, right? Like we'll go to the hall to talk about these things. We are standing here and talking. No, we'll go to the hall and talk it. Adjourning means we push it, kind of, close to the end of the session. Adjourning means, right? We'll take this to the hall and talk about it, right? Let us adjourn to the hall. We have chairs there. There you go. Jagan was getting ready to leave for his shop. Actually, in this morning, Jagan was getting ready to go to his shop. But now, the son was a meeting with his father, right? But thought of it worthwhile to postpone his routine. But Jagan wanted to go to shop, but thought like, okay, I'll delay going to the shop for a while because I'm going to participate in this talk anyway, right? So he was going to postpone. He was going to delay his approaching the shop, right? Nowadays, with one thing and another, his timetable was getting slightly upset, right? Nowadays, right? His timetable, because Jagan was a punctual man. Anyway, whatever he was undergoing at his house, he he was punctual. He was always going to the shop on the time, right? Uh, when Mali was sending letters, and he was happy those days, he talked to people, and that's how he got a little bit delayed going to the shop. We found that, right? And nowadays, again, when Mali is here, right, because he was waiting for Grace to come to his part, have a talk with Grace every day. Now his daily routine, regular time, is getting little altered. Is getting little change. Like it's getting slightly upset, right? In other words, right? Jagan obediently trooped behind his son and took his seat in the hall. Like Jagan obediently, right? Very, just like very obediently, like Kikaru. Jagan obediently trooped behind, means walked behind his son and took his seat in the hall. And even to the hall where the son is going to hold the meeting, right? Where he had not stepped for many weeks now. Like he has not gone to the hall for many weeks now because that is partition. The house is partition. House has two parts with the curtain. In a curtain, if one has to go to the other part, they have to go through the curtain, right? So now for weeks he has not been to the hall. He noticed that Grace had transformed the place with curtains, mats, tablecloth. Oh my God, right? Grace has rearranged this place, right, with kind of very neat and tidy ways of outcomes, right? There are curtains, mats, and tablecloths, and so many other things just to make the place look tidy, right? So it's rearranged, right? A couple of modern paintings hung on the walls. So apart from that, there are some paints in the walls, right? You know what is a paint, right? Drawings. And these are not just ordinary drawings, these are modern drawings, modern paintings. And you know what is a modern painting? What do you know what is a traditional painting and a modern painting? Right? Even in paintings, there are certain categories, right? In novels, when it comes to novels, these are like semi-autobiographical novels, right? We came to that in the beginning. Then there are like horror novels, there are like sci-fi novels, scientific novels, there are young adult novels, there are like fantasy novels, there are historics novels, like historical novels, and there are so many other categories of novels, right? So in the same way, when it comes to paintings, also there are certain types of painting. There are modern paintings, there are expressionist paintings, there are this kind of kind of traditional paintings. There are live paintings, right? There are, so it's a big subject, right? Painting is a big subject. It's a very serious kind of a study, as much as we are studying this novel, right? So when it comes to modern paintings, now this hall has had some modern paintings hung on the walls. Jagan found them bewildering. Jagan found these modern paintings are very confusing, very mind blowing, perplexing, right? Just hard to understand, puzzling, right? But said, okay, like for example, in a modern painting, sometimes you may see three squares in three colors. Imagine there's a painting, the background is black or white. Imagine it's a white background. You may see a black box, a black square, and then you may see a white square, and you may see a red square, and all squares are interconnected in a place. Or you may see just like brush strokes, random brush strokes in a art. That's it. That's the modern painting. So you are just like confused, right? What is the meaning of it? Is there's no picture in it. Only a kind of a very irregular, inconsistent, disconnected pattern. For example, if those three boxes are there in a frame, you can say that that's the human mind. A person who knows about human mind can immediately identify these three boxes as, yes, this is the unconscious, and this is the superego, and this is the id, the three parts of the mind, like the devil, the god, and the human mind, right? I mean, like the battle between these three elements, right? Or you can see the father, son, and the father, son, and the spirit, the holy trinity, these things, right? Or you can see, you can associate these things, like that's, you have to think about these things, right? For Jagan, this doesn't make any sense. That's what the idea is, right? So yeah, now you know a little bit of modern painting as well, right? Uh, it's not this traditional painting about this beautiful sceneries. No, no, those are not modern paintings, right? So now Jagan found them bewildering. These modern paintings are very confusing for Jagan, but said yes when Grace asked, "Aren't they marvelous?" Grace asked, like showing the paintings, like, "Aren't they interesting? Aren't they marvelous?" Jagan have no clue, right? Jagan don't understand a damn thing about these paintings, right? And she's like, yes, they are interesting, says Jagan, right? The bamboo chairs were piled with colored cushions. And there are these new chairs, are bamboo chairs, right? Are piled with new cushions. And they are having comfortable new cushions. A little vase on the table held a sprig of margosa leaves. I mean, like in the vase on the table, I mean, like there's this margosa leaves. That's the kind of, you put flowers and everything in a vase, right? Instead of flowers, you find these margosa leaves on the vase. Jagan's heart throbbed at that sight. Anna Jagan interesting. Anna Jagan click වෙන දෙයක් නේ දැන් තියෙන්නේ. මෙච්චර දේවල් ක්ලික් උන්නේ නේ මාගේ modern painting අනම් මන මේ බහුත තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ Jagan. Margosa leaves දැක්ක his subject, and his heart throbbed. He was fascinated. He liked this, right? Wow, right? He's fascinated. And then මැක්කගේ scene එක දැන්, right? That's like that's the way, right? So he saws this margosa leaves, and he started chopped at the side. He said, he immediately started, right, without any permission. He said, "Margosa is the ambrosia mentioned in our Vedas. Did you know that, Grace?" Right? He introduced margosas, right? Margosa leaves are the ambrosia. I mean, like, you know what is ambrosia, right? The food of God, sanjivani, amrita, right? Margosia is the food of gods, and it's mentioned in our Vedas. Vedas is another holy scripture in India, right? We found another holy scripture previously. Now in Vedas, what are the four Vedas in India? Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Samaved, Atharvan Ved. Those are the Vedas, four Vedas in India, right? It's like the big books, right? Big Veda books, right? Very important scripture. And according to the Vedas, these are the God's food. And then පටන් ගන්න යන්නේ හොඳ මේ දැන් කියන්න දැන් Settenna hadanne Jagan, right? Vadator. Did you know that grace? Did you understand that grace? Did you ever know that, right? These are the ambrosia. She almost hugged the flowers in vase and cried, "How grand!" Ani, just like she immediately hugged the vase, right? Hold the vase very nicely in a romantic way and just like hold the vase and cried, "How grand, how great! I never knew this thing. Wow, is this ambrosia? Is this the food of the god? Wow, I never knew this, right?" How did they know? Right? How did these people know this is the food of the god? They know all about everything Vedas, don't they? I mean, like, isn't this amazing, Father? Like these ancient people that know everything. This is a kind of a big knowledge in the Veda books, right? Isn't it fascinating, right? They know all about everything in the Vedas, don't they? Said the grace, right? අර නිකන් තාත්තා එකක් කියද්දි ලේලි තව එකක් කියලා දැන් සෙට් වෙලා දැන් දෙන්නට දෙන්න බ්‍රැකට් දැන් හරි. Of course they do, said the father. All the Vedas have emanated from God's feet. Yeah, I mean, like, Veda has this knowledge, right? Veda always has this knowledge because you know how Veda was born? It was born from the God's feet. I mean, the creative God, maybe the Brahma, right? I don't know from which God's feet it came out. What I know is the Brahma is the creator, right? So, according the Brahma's feet maybe have given birth to this Vedas. It came from God's feet, says the father, right? Of course, the Vedas have emanated means come out. It means emanate means just projected, just came out from the God's feet. Ah, what a conception! What a beautiful idea! These books came from the God's feet. Grace cried, and like Grace in high pitched so wow, what a wonderful idea. She found everything thrilling. For this girl like crying, I mean like everything is thrilling. හැමදේම මෙයාට හරි magic වගේ දැන් මේ ඉන්දියාවේ, right? Maybe she's trying to get an idea, right? She's a very newcomer and she's very fascinated by it, right? And it was very thrilling. Everything stirred in him some poetic feeling very deep within. I mean, like everything appeared very poetic to her, right? Everything appeared very nice and very orderly and very genuine to her, right? And very poetic, very creative, very new to her, right? Don't worry, these things happen, right? If you get a chance to live in Australia, like when you go to Australia, right? That happens, right? I mean, like it's a new country, right? It's a new place. Like people are different, right? It's a brand new culture, and you are just trying to fit into this culture. And you see kangaroos, right? You see koala bears. It's very beautiful, right? And even you see a shit pile of kangaroos. Kangaroo බෙට්ටක් දැක්ක. ඒ බෙට්ටත් ලස්සනට පේන්නේ. මොකද අලුත් රටක ඉන්නේ අලුත් දෙයක් දකින්න. ඉතින් ඒක හැමදාම ඉන්න ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාව වලසට බෙට්ටේ ඇති දෙයක් නෑ. රයිට් ඒ kangaroo බෙට්ටක් තමයි. But for you it may appear very beautiful. Same way to this girl, right? Everything in this country has something beauty in it. It's like by the way, right? Don't forget this thing. Even I'm joking about it, but still India has a big history, right? Some history somewhere around 3,000 years or something more than that, right? When it comes to Greek history, when it comes to pyramids and everything, it's like 10,000 years old, right? So these are the great civilizations. Like it runs back. So there are so much unknown, hidden knowledge and very profound knowledge in India, of course, right? Respect that too. But still, this is over romantic, right? That's what I'm telling you. It's like, so just you make the decision, right? I'm just showing you. I report, you decide, right? Right. Anyway, yes. Now she's saying like everything is poetic, feeling deep within, and immediately Mali cautioned her. Mali immediately warned her, right? Don't start swallowing Margot's leaves, my dear, right? මෙතන මේ කොහොම කොළ ගිලින්න තියාගන්න එපා, right? Just Mali immediately say මෙතන මේ ආයි සංදර්ශනයක් මෙතන තියාගන්න එපා, මෙතන මේ රූපක නවත්තනවා මෙතන මේ කොහොම කොළ කන්න පටන් ගන්න එපා මෙතන, right? Something like that, right? Don't start swallowing Margot's leaves. In other words, Mali hates these things, right? Mali hates this stupid talk, right? Mali hates father's this kind of thoughts as well. And when his wife starts just playing the tune of the father, then like atula sinduවක් ගහන්න යද්දි මේ මාළට තරහ ගියා, just like say stop this, right? Don't start swallowing Margosa leaves, my dear. Jagan say no harm in it. There's nothing wrong in something someone is swallowing. If you want to eat Margosa leaves, there's nothing wrong in it. It's good for health, right? It's a natural antiseptic. It's a natural antiseptic. What is natural antiseptic? It's like uh, it's like cleaning your system with germs, right? It's antiseptic. Write this down. What is antiseptic? Write this meaning, right? It's thoroughly clean and free of destructive germs. It's a germ killer. It's called an antiseptic. If you don't know, write down the hard words, right? So he says like nothing wrong in swallowing margosa leaves. It kills the germs, right? Purifies the blood, supplies iron. There's iron. I mean, Margosa leaves has iron. When you swallow it, the system gets iron, right? His eyes lit up when he spoke of Margosa leaves, like I told you, right? Uh, in the beginning, can you remember? According to Jagan, right? If a dead person is there, if you just just move some margosa leaves, and if a dead man is lying, you move some margosa leaves in his near his nostrils, that person will come to life, according to the scripture, right? So that shows, that's a hyperbole, but still it shows the uh, importance of Margosa leaves, right? When I said this thing, I just something came to me, right? I have to have a friend. Actually, he was my boss, right? Uh, he was a Omani national. He was Omani national. He was a military person, right? And he, when in my staff there was some Indians, right, at that time, when I was working in Middle East at a certain time before I was joining in this teaching profession, right? And is my immediate boss was Qureshi Indian, right? And other side there was a South Indian called Paul Raj, right? He was on the other side, right? And Qureshi was in this side, right? And Quresh is from the middle part of the India. He's from Uttar Pradesh or some kind of, I don't know where he's from, but he's not from the down south, right, of India. He was kind of a posh, kind of a very refined, kind of educated, had a flair with him, right? He's a typical, genuine, very nice Indian. And the other side, we find this person just like Jagan, right? Almost like Jagan, but he's still educated, right? He's kind of, I'm not discriminating, but I'm telling my life experience, right? Now this my boss suddenly came. I'm Qureshi's kind of a assistant here, right? So he's my immediate boss, and this Omani national boss, Qureshi's boss. He's our big boss, right? He came. When he comes, like we normally stand up, right? Uh, I was very young at that time, right? As if the principal comes to your class, right? And he comes and just like sometimes he make jokes if his mood is good, right? He makes joke. If he's angry, he just goes on telling something very nasty and goes on, right? And he came one day and asked, Qureshi, yeah, yes sir. Colombo boy. He calls me Colombo boy, right? He doesn't call me Dinesh, right? He calls me Colombo boy because I was very young at that time. Yes sir, yeah. Ah, Brigadier. He speak to that Paul Raj. He names his brigadier, right? Qureshi is like the I like the general. He's the big boss. He's the commanding general, right? So he's a military person. I told you, right? So he called him brigadier. He addressed that Jagan like person, right? Uh, and he's this Omani, right? Kalamba boy, do you know how to identify an Indian out of Sri Lankan or out of any other Asian person? No, sir. I don't know because I don't want to just make upset, right? My both guys, my colleagues, right? These are my working part. I mean, like these are colleagues. I mean, like this Polraj is senior and this guy is senior, right? He's my immediate boss. I can't just say anything against Indians, right? Right? I mean, like they are never. I mean, like, they joke at me, right? So I'm very careful. I'm very careful about the words that comes out from my mouth, right? No, sir. Qureshi, Qureshi Bhai. That's how we call him. Like, Qureshi Bhai, do you know how to identify Indian? Qureshi gives this look, right? No, sir. Brigadier? Yeah, Ile. No, no, I don't know, right? Ah, It's paisa means money, money, right? How? If a dead, if a Indian is dead, take some real out of your pocket, right? And just wave those reals in front of the dead Indian man's nose. He'll immediately come into life. මැරිච්ච මිනිහ මැරිච්ච ඉන්දියන් කාරගේ නහය ළඟින් සල්ලි අලුත් කිරිකිරි කොළ දෙක තුනක් අතුල්ලන්නකො මැරිච්ච මිනිහට පණේනවා කියන මේ කියන්නේ, right? Just like Amrita, it's even powerful than Amrita, right? So like this example just reminded me that incident, right? So it's a funny incident, right? So that's the power of money, right? That's what I want to show, but it's the same way here is the power of this like Amagosa leaves for this for Jagan, right? Can bring dead people into life. So now they are talking these things, right? He says like no harm in it. It's a natural antiseptic. Purify the blood, supply iron. His eyes lit up when he spoke of Margosa leaves. I explain it in detail in my book, right? When you read it, you will understand it better. Right? When you read this book, you will understand that the properties, medical properties of Margos are better. The father starts to preach, exhort, right? That's the idea. Grace was now readjusting the flowers in the vase with a deliberate interest. I mean, like, she's now very careful and, readjusting the Margosa leaves in the vase. තාත්ත කියනකොට ලේලි අනේ ලස්සනට මේවා හරි ගස්සනවා, right? In the vase, right? Readjusting the flowers in the vase with a deliberate interest means deliberate means very intentional. I mean, it's like a very focused way. Womanaving, right? Deliberate interest. As if she was privileged to handle ambrosia as a result of marrying an Indian, right? As if like being an Indian daughter-in-law, as an Indian wife, now she's touching the god's food. It's like a privilege to her. Privilege means like some kind of a special position. It's a kind of a special thing that happened to her, that she can touch the god's food. මේ කොහොම කොල කියන්නේ දෙයියන්ගේ කෑමන මේ දෙයියන්ගේ කෑම අල්ලන්න වාග්ය ලැබුණේ තමන් ඉන්දියානු එක්ගේ බිරිඳක් වීම නිසා නේද කියන හැඟීමෙන් යුතුව ඇය මේවා අල්ලනවා, right? මේවත් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කරනවා, මේවත් එක්ක මේවා ඇඩ්ජස්ට් කරනවා, right? That's the idea here, right? What a drama. It was long time since Jagan had observed his son's face at close quarters, right? I mean, like, it's a long time. It means a big time. I mean, it's a very long time that Jagan seriously sees his son face to face, right? In this closeness, right? Because they were not having this close contact for a while. Now he noticed that the freshness and the glow of foreignness that had possessed when he arrived was gone. I mean, like, now Jagan noticed something. The poshness, I mean, like that foreignness, I mean, like that American face, that kind of American glow, that kind of shiny Jagan, I mean, like shiny Mali who came to Malgudi when he first came, right? That shine, that aura, again, Sella, then I mean, like, එනකොට මාලි එනකොට මාලිට අර නිකන් මේ බුදුහාමුදුරුවන්ගේ රැස්වලල්ල වගේ ජේසුස් වහන්සේගේ රැස්වලල්ල වගේ රැස්වලල්ලක් තිබුණානේ. ඒකට තාත්තට බලන්නත් බයයි. තාත්තට නිකන් මේක නිකන් සර් කියන්නද කියලා හිතුණානේ. I mean, like, ඒ රැස්වලල්ල දැන් ගිහිල්ලා. I mean, like, the foreignness that has possessed when he arrived was gone. It is now kind of disappeared, right? That's the situation. It's kind of withered, in other words, right? That's the idea. Okay.